Welcome to another episode of the Boys on the Bench podcast. We are your host. I am DJ Riley, and alongside me is my brother Dalton Riley and lifelong friend Nathan Eastwood. In this episode, we are going to talk about the winners and losers of this last 2023 NFL draft, and I think we have some pretty good ones. So Nathan, you want to go ahead and start us off with this?
Yeah, I'll start off. So for my team, who I thought won the draft, I did a two-parter. I couldn't really narrow it down between the two teams who I thought I won the draft. But first, I'm going to talk about my first team, and hurts my soul to say this, but that's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Shut up. Shut up.
We all honestly better get used to it.
Yeah, no joke. So the Eagles went out, and they got Jalen Carter. 9th overall pick. And then later in the first round, they get Nolan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia, who was projected to be like a top 20 pick, and they get him at 30. They say he was one of the best linebackers in the draft. And they're kind of comparing him that he was like just as good, if not even better than Nakobe Dean, who they drafted last year. So basically, two linebackers that Georgia defense had who won when they won the national championship are now in Philadelphia, and they're both young, super young. Then they go in the second round, they get an offensive lineman, and a lot of the Eagles fans like that because of their guard left, but a lot of people don't know that they drafted Cam Jurgens a while back, a couple years ago, and they say he's just as good, if not better. So it's not like, oh, well, we lost our guard on the offensive line. No, this guy that's coming in is just as good. So it's not like you didn't lose anything there. And then they go in the third round, and they get Sidney Brown. And then the fourth round, this is what gets me, they get the Georgia cornerback, Keely Ringo. I don't know what's going on, but as a football fan, the Eagles need to pay Howie Roseman a lot more money because he is building one hell of a football team. And
yep,
that
pay Howie Roseman more money, but pay them with the recruiting staff of the Eagles. Fire all the Eagles recruiting staff. All of them are already hired by the University of Georgia. Because I feel like at this point, that's all they're doing. If you play for Georgia, you're going to play for the Eagles. So take the scouting department's money and give it to Howie Roseman.
Yeah, I agree. They've had the best defense, though, the past 3 years in college football. But then, like, you talk about their offense. I mean, their defense. Their offense is just as scary damn good. Jalen Hurts. They got DeAndre Swift in the draft with a trade with the Lions. Then Rashad Penny. Then Jalen Hurts gets to throw to Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, and Dallas Goedert.
Look, let's be real. They're not building. They're built, and they're building for long term now. Like everyone else is still. I feel like it was on this building phase. Even I feel like the Chiefs are still building, but I feel like the Eagles are built, but they're now long terming everything, and they're getting depth at everything. Guys, let's not forget that in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, they only lost 38-35. I think of a good draft as a team that got better, not a bad team became a good team, but a team that got better. I think if this Eagles team now played the Chiefs, maybe not now, but give it some time in the season for these rookies. But I think if this team played the Chiefs, they would win. It'd be a different script for that Super Bowl. They got better.
Yeah, because that defense is just so good. But that was my. Go ahead, DJ.
Oh, well, no. I mean, I was just going to speak, like, especially for the offensive side of the ball, like, it's just impressive to see what they've done, like, to y'all's point, because arguably we saw Jalen Hurts at the time, like, he was the highest paid quarterback, and then, you know, Lamar Jackson came in. So Jalen Hurts has proven himself that he is the guy in the NFL. So Eagles also arguably have one of the best wide receiving groups, like Nathan said, with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins. They're up there with the best wide receiving corps. They also have Dallas Goedert, who is a very solid tight end. He's not the best tight end, but he definitely does his part. And then running back side, just signed Rashad Penny, just traded for DeAndre Swift. So now arguably they have one of the better running back rooms. They have a very good 1-2 punch, right? I'm not saying that is the best running back group, but they have one of the better ones in the NFL. So like both of y'all are saying, this Eagles team, there's no stopping them. Like I would not want to be Dallas, Washington, or the Giants in the NFC East facing them two times a year.
We were even talking about this. We were live texting during the draft, and I can't tell you how many times the Eagles, every time they picked, it was like all of us were like, great pick, yeah. Holy smokes. Like, how can a team that literally lost in the Super Bowl have this good of a draft pick? That's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen for teams that are this good. That's the whole point of picking, near the end of the first and second and third round, right? So just to be able to come out on top and say, dude, like, I think we can all agree the Eagles probably had the best value draft this year, and now we're just going to figure out who's 2, 3, and 4 in this thing. Yeah, like the Eagles by far were probably number one, and they're going to be a hard team to beat next year.
Yeah, and so. I think they're already the Super Bowl favorites, and I think that they have the potential to be the number one defense and the number one offense in the NFL. But with that being said, the second team I couldn't decide from the Eagles, and then the second team was the Houston Texans. And I put the Houston Texans up there because they didn't have a quality of draft to match the Eagles. But what they did was, and we talked about it in the podcast, is do you go defense? Do you go offense? Do you get the best quarterback in the draft? Do you get the best edge rusher in the draft? What do you do here? You're rebuilding. What do you do? And they found a way to get both of them. They found a way to get CJ Stroud at 2, trade back up to number 3, and get Will Anderson. They found a way. Yeah, they gave up a first round next year, but as a first round next year, you're probably going to get the edge rusher anyway. So why not trade a first round next year to get him this year and Will Anderson? So I put that up there too as a potential to win the draft, just because of people didn't know what they were going to do, what side of the ball they were going to go. And they got both. And I think that DeMeco Ryans made a statement. Like, I'm in here. I'm a defensive-minded coach. I know this team and this organization is in a major rebuild. But as a defensive-minded coach, I went and got both sides of the ball. I feel like that's him telling the city of Houston, hey, we're not there yet, but we're making the right moves, and we're going to get there.
Yeah, and here's something too that I thought was really cool. I heard this from a source, I can't remember where, but I kind of looked into it. But if it's true, this is very interesting. The Texans got a lot of heat for trading up to the 3rd overall pick because of the amount of capital that they had traded for Will Anderson. They're like, that's the type of capital that you trade for a quarterback, not for an edge rusher or an outside linebacker. They're like, that's crazy. Well, what I heard was, and if this is true, this is really smart by the Texans. There were sources that were saying that the Texans were wanting to trade up for Will Anderson, but at the number 2 slot, they felt like they had more leverage if they took CJ Stroud. And instead of going right for Will Anderson at number 2 and then trying to get their franchise guy at 3, they felt like they were going to be competing with other teams that were quarterback hungry for that third spot if it was for a quarterback. They felt like they had better odds of getting that quarterback now. And then they made all that capital trades to get that 3rd overall pick for Will Anderson. But really, it was for CJ Stroud. They just got CJ Stroud early. Then they were going for their guy. They were wanting Will Anderson the whole time. That was the whole guy they were wanting. But they figured that they could get both if they went CJ Stroud first. And then they didn't have to deal with all the leverages from other teams and what they might have to get that 3rd spot.
I mean, strategically, that makes sense, and that is like playing chess as opposed to checkers. Because I think if you would have taken Will Anderson there, it would have been very hard to trade up, and you probably would have given up a lot more compensation than what. Yeah. So I mean that makes sense, but I love what they did here. I think that they obviously traded for the 3rd, which was currently held by the Cardinals, and I think that was a trade that benefited both teams because the Texans honestly lacked a playmaker on both the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. And they said, heck, why not? Let's get our quarterback. Let's get an absolute stud, because I think a very good comp for Will Anderson is Nick Bosa. And D'Amico Ryans used the heck out of Nick Bosa. So I think that that's what he's wanted. Is he's like, let me get my franchise quarterback, and then I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket. Let's get Will Anderson, and I am going to use him just how I used Nick Bosa last year in San Francisco. So I see it. I like the move, but kind of segueing into my winner for this section, it was
real quick. Let's not forget those two were Alabama too. So
oh, stop it.
But we can't. No, but in all honesty, that's chemistry that's going to be already built there. I see how that can create a type of excitement for Will Anderson to go work under a guy like D'Amico Ryans, especially with his accolades too. But being able to both be from Alabama and hold that, I think that's kind of cool though.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And so anyways, like I was saying, like, I think this was definitely a trade that benefited both sides, because it allowed Houston to get somebody that fits D'Amico Ryan's scheme, as well as get someone that was a franchise quarterback, or hopefully is going to be a franchise quarterback for the Texans. But then on the other side, the Cardinals, I feel like a 2023 season, this upcoming season for them, is going to be a little bit of a bust. So we knew that midway through the year, Kyler Murray tore his ACL. He missed the last half of last year, the 2022 season. So I don't think that they're necessarily trying to sell out. So I saw them as a team that was a likely candidate to trade back, trying to pick up as many assets as they could, because they're not necessarily worried about the 2023 season at all. Let's just, tank this season in a sense. I know teams aren't supposed to tank, but let's tank this season in a sense, and let's push on to the 2024 season when Kyler Murray's back. Now, depending on how the season goes, how I think who's the backup there, Colt McCoy still. So depending on how maybe Colt McCoy does at quarterback, maybe Kyler Murray comes back week 8, 9, 10. I don't know. So it could be a project. I think that the Cardinals are still going to be bad. So anyways, with this, the Cardinals were, for me, my winner because of the assets that they were still able to hold on, plus the draft picks that they picked up, and then also on top of that, who they got in the draft. So to start that, first off, they kept DeAndre Hopkins. We knew that coming into this offseason, DeAndre Hopkins was one of those trade candidates that was like, where is he going to go?
Dog.
Almost every single person, me included, felt that he was on the move. Why would you not trade him, especially with Kyler Murray being injured this season? But DeAndre Hopkins still has 2 years left on his contract. He has this year and the next year after that when Kyler Murray is set to return. So they found a way to keep DeAndre Hopkins. They also have not moved on from Budda Baker. We also knew that Budda Baker was a likely trade candidate going into the draft. He is an all-pro safety, a 2-time all-pro safety, and he had requested a trade. He said, make me the highest paid safety or trade me away. Right. And they still are $20 million under the cap. So they still have money to spend, even with all of these players. Now, with their draft pick, getting into the draft. So on top of them keeping those 3 players, they were at the 3 position traded with Houston. So they backed up and then they traded back up. Right. We saw that happen. So with Houston, they got the next year's pick. And I don't know if y'all are with me on this, but I do not think Houston is going to win a ton of games this year, right? I think that they are still going to be garbage. They got 2 solid players, but out of those 2 players, I don't think that they're set for the future, especially not the 2023 season. So I am anticipating that pick to be a high pick. The Cardinals this year, they are probably not going to do well, especially if Kyler Murray is not set to return. So they're also going to have a high pick in that. So we're looking at the Arizona Cardinals, who have a pretty stacked team, but we have a little bit of an injury bug in Kyler Murray hanging around, right? So
do you think it's 2 top 10 picks?
I think we're talking at maybe 2 top 5. I almost think it's a lock at two top 10, but we're looking at potentially 2 top 5 picks. And then there's a world of possibilities there, especially because they don't have a need at the quarterback position. I think Kyler Murray is a great, solid quarterback for them. Like, he has showed high levels of success. So if you have 2 top 5 picks and you don't even need a new quarterback, oh my gosh, you have set up, right? And then also with Kyler Murray, I think that they are investing in him. We saw that they got, with their first pick in the draft, Paris Johnson Jr. at Ohio State, an offensive lineman, a tackle, a very good tackle. And in fact, he was the first O lineman off of the board. That was the guy that they felt was the dude, and he was a dude at Ohio State. Their second pick, we knew that JJ Watt, they had JJ Watt come over, right? He retired, right? So they knew that they needed to address the edge position. With their second round pick, they got BJ Ojulari out of LSU. He is a very solid prospect as well. So I don't know if he's going to have JJ Watt's career, but he is a good prospect. He is someone that, was a second round talent. So they're going to have him come in and do a solid job. So for me, I don't think that this draft necessarily is going to say that Cardinals are going to do the best in 2023, but I think that they expressed all options and they set themselves up very well for 2024.
Yeah, no, DJ. I mean, those are really good points that you made. I actually agree with everything you said, but from an off-season point of view, now from who won the draft, I don't necessarily agree with you, just because I think for the off-season standpoint, they did great maintaining and keeping a lot of players such as D Hop and Buda Baker and keeping those guys there. But we got to remember that this was a 4-13 team and last in their division, I believe. And I just don't think by keeping your players, it's still the same team. Now, they did address a lot of needs, such as BJ Ojulari, Ojulari, and then
Ojulari.
also Ojulari. Thank you. And also with Paris Johnson Jr. And I thought that was good with Paris Johnson Jr. Drafting the offensive lineman there, because that's who Kyler Murray wanted. He was like, that's my guy. I want him. When that guy came to visit, I heard the facility, Kyler Murray was stoked. And so they just knew that Cardinals had to get this guy. But overall, I just don't see there being major improvements to this team just from the draft. But based on the capital that they've received and the trades and the moves that they've made, and being able to keep these guys and the things that they can do in 2024 next year in the draft, I think they'll be a completely different ball team. I just don't think they necessarily won this draft, but I think we can make a case that they won the offseason. I think that they're doing a really good job doing what they have to do to keep the people there, the necessary pieces. But right now, I just don't think they have a lot of things figured out. And I don't think this draft necessarily figured it out for them right now either.
See, for me, though, it's like I think that they went in with the mindset of let's get the most that we can in the 2024 draft. Like, let's set ourselves up for the 2024 season. Like, I see what you're saying, but if we look at what they necessarily got in the first two rounds of this draft, they got a first-round pick from a very bad team. So we're talking about a first-round pick in the following season. That's what they acquired in this draft. They also got arguably the best offensive tackle, and then a very good edge prospect. So for me, you got another first round pick, another top 5 pick, a tackle, and then the edge. And you got 3 very good assets in the first 2 rounds. So for me, like that was my thought process. Like, I do understand that, like, I know that the draft is like, okay, we're supposed to see the most success from the draft and then see that being incorporated into this season. So I do see your point that, like, we're not going to see that with the Cardinals this year. We're really not. But at the same time, the Cardinals aren't going to be at their full willpower. They don't have another option. That Kyler Murray is not going to start the season for them. And if he were to, holy cow, like, I mean, oh my gosh, like I think we could sit here and say that they arguably did win the draft. But so I see what you're saying, but I think that setting themselves up for 2024, I think it was a solid move by them.
No, absolutely. And that's part due to the draft. I think they did the things that were necessary. But I just don't know if they necessarily won the draft on this. I just think it's kind of hard comparing, apples to apples with the Eagles. I think obviously when we do that, it's going to be pretty hard to really compare any team to them. But overall, I mean, I think they did a great job in their draft. But another team that I feel like performed very well, and I think who possibly could have won the draft was the Seattle Seahawks. The reason I say that is because they did get the number 5 overall pick from the Denver Broncos, from Russell Wilson. So obviously we all know by now that the Seattle Seahawks got the best of that deal. But with that number 5 pick, at first I was a little upset because when we did our projections, I had projected that the Seattle Seahawks were going to address the edge need on the defensive side of the ball, but they went for the cornerback and got the best cornerback that I believe off the board, which was Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. Now, that's not necessarily a bad pick. They do need help on the defense side of the ball.
Dog.
It's not. He is a dog, and I think that was a good pick. Wasn't necessarily a need. So that kind of, I didn't know what to think of that at first. I didn't really see it coming. But then at number 20, they did address a need, and they got Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now, they do have DK Metcalf, and they also have Tyler Lockett, but we also have to remember having a third receiver is very beneficial in this league, especially for someone like Geno Smith. But we also have to remember that Tyler Lockett is up in age. I think he's 32 or 33 years, so we don't know how much longer he's there. So I think that was a smart move to bring in JSN because he can learn from somebody such as Tyler Lockett and be able to build a similar playing style to that. And I think that was just good timing. That's very similar to what the Eagles did with the defensive line, drafting, Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith to go in there behind Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, learn before these guys are out. So I thought that was really good for them. And they addressed a need at the same time and got the number one receiver off the board at number 20. So I think that was an absolute steal.
Though. Wide receivers did go late in the first round.
Really late. And it wasn't until right after them
that they all started going off the board.
All started.
Quentin
Three
Johnson.
receivers went right off the board. One
was it Quentin
bang,
Johnson
bang, bang.
that went 21 to the Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something like that.
And I know I want to change
something
too bad.
That's a dangerous wide receiver room too, though, because Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnston. That's a scary wide receiver.
And I don't want to change the. I don't want to change the topic on you, Dalton. But that Quentin Johnston thing that story was crazy because he didn't even get invited to the draft because the NFL feared that he wasn't going to be a first round pick, so he didn't even get invited. And then he was the 21st overall.
Hey, I'd rather. Yeah, I was about to say I'd rather be in his position than Will Levis's.
Yeah.
Granted.
Fuck you, Will Levis.
But no, I think
I got pure respect for my guy there.
I do agree with you. Going back to Seattle, though, I think that any team that's going to have two picks in the draft is most likely to win it. But Seattle nailed their draft last year. I think they had 5 people that they drafted last year who ended up being starters for them, like consistent starters for them throughout the season. So they know how to draft. And already from this, Dalton, I was like you, Devin Witherspoon was my number one cornerback on the board. They got him with the 5th overall pick. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he was also my number one wide receiver on the board. They also got him. Yeah, so they got 2 of my top players at the positions at 5 and 20. So I do agree with you. I think that they had a solid draft. So, I don't know.
Well, and I feel like it gets much better than that, too. I mean, they had 2 first-round picks and they had 2 second-round picks. So at number 37 overall, they ended up getting Derek Hall from Auburn, that edge rusher. Dude's an absolute just freak. So getting him that late as well, addressing a need there at the edge. So that's where I was like, okay, now I'm okay with them. I feel like there's not a whole lot of difference. I feel like Tyree Wilson is still a much bigger playmaker, but we're not far from, where the apple fell from the tree between, Tyree Wilson and Derek Hall from Auburn. So I was like, you know what? You still address that need in the second round, and you got a freaking dog in Devin Witherspoon in the 5th overall pick. I was like, now I see what's happening.
But when you think of defense in Seattle, you don't think of talented D linemen and linebacker was Bobby Wagner. But when you thought about defense in Seattle, you thought about the Legion of Boom. You thought about that secondary. You didn't think about pass rushing and linebackers. You just thought about how scary good that secondary was. So,
well, it's like
recreated, I guess.
In Seattle back in those days with the Legion of Boom, they basically had people, D linemen, playing 15 yards off the ball. Those guys were huge then, but I think that, we're in a different time now where, everything's just much faster, not as big, but still fast and powerful. But another thing too, I didn't see this coming. I don't think any of us really saw it coming, but it's not really necessarily a bad pick. I thought it was really good with Rashad Penny leaving, going and drafting Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA. This dude, at first I didn't know what to think of him. I was like, he's from UCLA. I didn't watch much UCLA college ball. So
he was that offense.
Yeah, and I realized that. So when I went back and looked, so when I was looking at his measurables, he's 6'1", 220 pounds. This dude, his measurables is a 3-down back. But that's
Well,
not how he's going to be used. He's going to be used as that 1-2 punch. But now
yes, he
they've
is
got
going to be a second string running back because a lot of people need to
yes.
understand that Kenneth Walker is there, and Kenneth Walker is an absolute freaking monster.
That's right. But the good thing about that is they got two monsters. You don't just have one monster and one and just another, secondary running back. You've got two guys that could potentially be 3 down backs,
Yeah.
and
So the
I think it's a perfect scenario between them.
the way I look at it is from a Dallas Cowboys standpoint, it's like Zeke and Pollard, but Zeke being 6 years younger.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah.
that's what it is, though. That's what it is, right? Because Kenneth Walker was a rookie last year, and they're going to do a 1-2 punch with him and Zach Charbonnet, and it's basically a Tony Pollard and Zeke situation. But imagine but Zeke 5 or 6 years younger. It'd
Well,
be
and the way
it was a good 1-2 punch with Zeke being this old or this worn out and beat down.
yeah, I mean, no, that's a great comparison. And the good thing too is, the difference is with Tony Pollard. I feel like Pollard is still a secondary back. I think he could still be a great, and you may disagree with me, but I think Tony Pollard is a top 15 back easily. He could be top 10, but I just think that he still needs I don't think he's that Derrick Henry or the Austin Eckler type back.
Wait. You just wait.
I hope he proves me wrong. So, but what I'm saying though with Zach Charbonnet, another interesting thing too about him that I saw was that he had a 4.59 yards after contact, averaging 4.59 yards after contact. That was number one out of all the running back prospects. Number two was Bijan at 4.4 yards after contact on average.
That dude is a freaking dog.
So Zach Charbonnet, he knows how to he knows how to bulldoze, he knows how to get across the goal line. But what's cool too is he had 37 receptions for 321 yards, 320 over 300 yards. So
if he plays at any other
catch,
if he plays at any other college other than UCLA, he's the second best running back in the draft. He played at UCLA because his sister had a disease and he wanted to be closer to where his sister was getting medical attention. Wow. He had offers from all the big FBS D1 schools, but he chose UCLA. Sorry, he chose UCLA because it was closer to his sister.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I just feel like him being able to back up, oh fuck, hold on, we're gonna have to stop there real quick.
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah. And then, and for him to be able to back up Kenneth Walker, I just think that this is a perfect combination of running backs. I think, it wasn't necessarily a great need for the team, but I feel like it was necessary. I feel like it was great for what they need at the moment. And then to finish it off at the last end of the picks, they did end up addressing the final need of their team with the interior linemen at pick 108 and 154. So they ended up getting a guard and a center. So I was like, you addressed everything and then more. You got more that you needed. And I feel like those people that they got extra, Zach Charbonnet and Devin Witherspoon, are going to be great additions to that team. And I think that that's going to help.
They're feeling awfully confident in their defense, or they are just like trying to really invest in their offense right now, because if that's the case, they went defense with their first in Devin Witherspoon, but then they went offense in a wide receiver, offense at running back, offense at guard, offense at center, right? Was that it, or did I miss somebody? Oh, no, they also went a defense and Derek Hall. So they went defense, offense, defense, offense, 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 right?
So they was mostly leaning offense. So
yeah. But I mean, that's scary, because like we were kind of saying with the Eagles, to your point though, is like the Eagles had arguably one of the better wide receiving rooms, but now it's like Seattle's up there as well, because we're talking about DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now Jackson Smith and Jigba. So they have a really good wide receiver group. And then now we see them also addressing the running back room. They already had Kenneth Walker, and we know that he's a dude there. But then they're also getting Zach Charbonnet. He's showed very high success. So they have two very young running backs who have showed high levels of success. So now, I mean, I don't want to say that they have a very top running back room, especially when we haven't really seen Charbonnet play a single snap. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It has the potential to be there because of how young they are and how explosive they are, and then you see them also investing in the O line. So
And
that is going to be a very exciting group to watch. And Denver is just looking
stupid.
worse and worse in this.
Yeah, they're absolutely
And
like,
and
dude, it's not good.
for our listeners out there on the West Coast side, he DJ mentioned that he didn't watch a lot of Zach Charbonnet because played in the Pac-12, and over here where we live, Pac-12 football don't come on till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So if you got kids or you had a long day, you usually finish a 6:30 game, and by 9:30, 10 o'clock, you're in bed, and usually Pac-12 don't kick off till 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you're up till 1:30, 2 a.m. watching that game if you're awake. So
Exactly, and that's the reason that I didn't really watch any of those games. The Pac-12 is hard, so I love that they're kind of trying to merge in. I love the conference shakeup, honestly, where some of them are trying to merge into the Big Ten, and then a couple of them are on the outskirts trying to figure out what they want to do. But we don't have to dive into that. So, anyways, those are our winners for this NFL draft, and let's go ahead and dive into the losers. I'll go ahead and kick this off. My loser for this draft was the Tennessee Titans. And
terrible.
the reason that I'm saying that it's the Tennessee Titans, we saw them make some moves. They had the 11th overall pick, and they made a solid pick with that. I think that the O-line position was something that they desperately needed to address, with two of their O-linemen out, Taylor Lewan being one of them at the tackle position. So with their 11th overall pick, they said, let's go ahead and do that. Let's invest into this. They are a run-first team, and they got Peter Skoronski. Again, one of the better tackle prospects. I know that his size and his length were a little bit of an issue, so they said maybe slide him in at guard. But either way, he is a hard-nosed dude, and he is a solid prospect, and I think he is going to do great things within the NFL. So I think that was a solid pick for them. Now, what they also did was address the quarterback position. We know that Ryan Tannehill there is not the future. I think that he has 2 years left on his contract. He's not the future with them. So they're already trying to prepare for some sort of change. We saw last year they used a third-round pick to get Malik Willis. Malik Willis did not perform. He kind of came in from time to time throughout the season. And I guess the Titans didn't really like what they saw from him. And
when you just real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you bring up Malik Willis, when the Titans did draft him, though, didn't Tannehill come out and say, like, basically said, "Fuck him. I'm not teaching him anything. He's not going to learn anything from me. He's on his own."
yeah, I mean, and that wouldn't surprise me. I can't speak to that exact situation, but I think we see that with like a lot of veteran quarterbacks who
He
are
wasn't happy.
not. Yeah. I mean, I think he took offense to it, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
to an extent, that's what you have to do, though. You have to draft these players. It is a business, and you have to take it personal, but lead by example. We're not sitting here to say, hey, dude, we need you to stay after practice every day and give lessons. This dude got drafted in the NFL in the third round. He doesn't need your lessons. Lead by example, show him how to build a winning culture. And I think that's all you need to do. And I think that's what they wanted Ryan Tannehill to do. But these veteran quarterbacks feel like they need to say, I'm not here to be a mentor. I am here to be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, which, I mean, rightfully so makes sense. That's, if I'm a Tennessee Titans fan, that's what I want my quarterback to be focused on, is not to be a mentor, but to be a quarterback of my team. So I think that that's kind of where he was coming from with that. But going back to my point, is they were trying to address the quarterback position. Like we said, Ryan Tannehill is not the future. They spent a third round pick last year on Malik Willis. He played somewhat last year, and they said, not really the guy, although he hadn't even really been in the system for even a year, right? So there were rumors that they would potentially trade up for one of the top prospects, or, with a top 5 pick and give away a lot of assets. They decided, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to stay put on where we're at until the second round, when we saw them trade up for Will Levis, who sat a poor guy having to sit all the way
that
through the
had to
first
be
round.
rough, dude. That
Yeah.
had to be rough. But we were talking about that, right? We were talking about, like, hey, what, like, that was the main topic, was like, when the Titans kind of passed on them, we all agreed that, okay, who could potentially be next to draft him if there wasn't a trade up? And we all agreed that it was the Vikings.
Well, I
And
was in between. I was in between the Vikings and the Buccaneers for me.
that's true. Oh, the Buccaneers, yeah. But you know, I wonder if there's something that we all missed on Will Levis. Kind of watching him there a little bit.
Dude, he kept falling. We're like, what
Yeah,
in the
I
world,
wonder
dude?
if in
Like,
his interviews, and I texted this in the group chat, if he just came off arrogant and too cocky.
Well, I did see reports that he did come off arrogant and cocky, but that's we're talking about. We're looking for a starter in the NFL, one of the best 32 players, or one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the league. A little bit of you has to be somewhat confident, and which
Yeah,
comes off
but
as arrogance, right?
could it be
So,
a potential thing where they gave him the playbook or gave him a playbook and he didn't go through it and they asked questions about it and he got them wrong?
but then we saw that with CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud scored low on the IQ, whatever. I don't even know what the test was. He scored low on
it's
that
called
and
the
went two
S2 test or
overall.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, he went two
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
that
I
man
don't
can
know.
play football.
No, he can. And that's my thing. I don't know how he slipped down to the second round, but I mean, he did. But going back to my point, I don't know. For me, I don't think that necessarily a lot of the Titans or focus was, what are we going to do at the quarterback position? What are we going to do at the quarterback position? And for me, it's like,
Should have waited and got Caleb Williams next year.
I mean, exactly. Sure. Let's see how Malik Willis does this year. If you're so worried about it, just say whatever with Ryan Tannehill, bite the bullet on his contract. Let's throw Malik Willis in there and let's see how it goes. If it doesn't go good, sure. Okay, we've secured a top 10 pick. Maybe we could trade up then and get our quarterback. But no, they kind of sold out on Will Levis. And that's my issue, is that they have been so concerned on what are we going to do at the quarterback position. There's question marks around Ryan Tannehill. There's question marks around Malik Willis. And there's also now question marks around Will Levis. So all three of your quarterbacks have question marks, and the question marks keep building up with the Tennessee Titans because who are they throwing to? The only wide receiver of relevance there is Traylon Burks. That's the only dude. They have no playmakers. And if you look across the board, they have one player who has 10 plus touchdowns, 10 plus career touchdowns. Sorry. And that is Derrick Henry. If you take Derrick Henry out, no other player on that team that is a skill position. So we're not talking about Ryan Tannehill. So that's a skill position that doesn't have 10 plus touchdowns as a career, right? So who are you throwing to? I don't care who the quarterback is. At this point, you don't have weapons. Let's invest in some.
Burks.
Yeah, let's invest in some sort of weapons, and then let's figure out the quarterback. And Nathan, that exactly like to what you said. I think that's approach that you take.
Will Levis is just a Band-Aid for you right now that's going to get ripped off later. It's another Malik Willis. So that's what I'm seeing. I just don't think Will Levis is going to come in and be that franchise guy like Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, or anything like that. So I was kind of disappointed in that. But, guys, here's something I don't know if you guys heard about that I thought was outrageous. The GM for the Titans, he's a new GM, Rand Carthon. He admitted that he didn't realize he had used his 6 picks in the NFL draft were all offense. He didn't realize he didn't use any defense.
He admitted that?
He did. Now, a lot of people were thinking that he was joking. They're like, there's no way he's for real. But whether it's a joke or not, it doesn't. It sounds completely asinine to even say anything like that. So it completely undermines him, and people are like, what? If I was a Titans fan, I'd be
pissed.
Yod. Yes, dude.
I'd be pissed.
If anything, own it up and make that your motive.
Yeah.
Dude,
hey, sorry, I'm new to this. I just botched this draft, but we will get better, hopefully. Next year we'll go all defense.
So the team that I believe that kind of bluffed this draft and kind of didn't do very well also was the Washington Commanders. The reason I say that is because I felt like they were another quarterback-hungry team, such as they have Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett, and Jake Fromm, I believe. I think this is his third string. But
wait, Carson Wentz isn't there anymore?
No, he's not there. That dude's continuing his journey onward. He's gone. So, but I feel like the Washington Commanders could have addressed that quarterback need. I feel like it would have been nice if they did trade up and get someone. I don't think, again, Will Levis would have been their guy. I think if Will Levis would have been a good value pick, maybe in the 3rd or 4th round. But that's crazy because Will Levis, guys, he was 1% chance to be selected after 20. He was supposed to be selected within the top 20. That's what's crazy. So surely we thought someone was going to come up and get him. But I feel like at this point, the Titans, and even though he should have been selected in the top 20, I still don't see him as a franchise guy. I still think that he would have been a great pick later in the 3rd round or beyond, right? But that they didn't address any quarterbacks, and so what they did address was the cornerback. They did have cornerback needs. They did in their 1st and 2nd round. They went and got 2 cornerbacks. They got Emmanuel Forbes and Jartavius Martin. The problem, though, with Emmanuel Forbes, I believe he was ranked a number 7 cornerback at the time, and he was the 2nd cornerback taken off the board after Devin Witherspoon with the 5th overall pick. I think they had 16. I think they were the 16th pick. They got Emmanuel Forbes. So I totally did not see that coming. I thought they were going to go Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Something like
plug,
that.
maybe.
So I don't know what they saw in him, but maybe they saw something we didn't. I just thought that was kind of a weird pick at 16. It definitely filled a need, but I felt like, was it the right need, the right person for the need? I didn't necessarily agree with it, but they did get
fair.
2 cornerbacks. So,
That's
and
fair.
then something else, I didn't really necessarily agree with the Washington Commanders. They went and got 2 edge rushers. Can we currently name who their 2 edge rushers are right now?
Chase Young.
And Montez Sweat.
Montez Sweat, yeah.
I was going to Sweat, yeah.
Why would you go get 2 edge rushers? Now, don't get me wrong. I think they've already agreed not to sign. Well, injuries.
Both of them have had quite a bit of injuries, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
Young
but
has.
even though they still have both those players, they're still studs. They do have injuries that linger, but they weren't needs. You still have those 2 guys. I do understand. I think they've already confirmed that they are not going to sign one of their contracts. I think it's Chase Young.
They didn't exercise his 5th-year option, so this is a contract year for him. After this year, he's a free agent.
So
he's already been in the league for 4 years.
Yeah, both Montez Sweat, they're giving him his 5th-year option, but
that dude's a beast.
Yeah, but the thing is like what I'm saying. I think one would have been okay. Like, yeah, that might have been okay, but that wasn't necessarily a need that you needed to fill. So they did fill the offensive line, but that was later in their picks. I think it was actually 3rd and 4th round, or they did get mid-round picks. So like they were okay, but I just don't see anything. I give them at least a C-, but at the ceiling, like I just don't see how they made this football team any better. I don't see how they also got a 6th round running back out of Kentucky. So I'm like, you have Gibson, you have Brian Robinson, like you're fine at running back. So I didn't see where that came from either. So there was a lot of times there was a lot of question marks. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I felt like that was what I was getting from the Washington Commanders. So,
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But, these are all just our opinions on what we feel like and things.
Right. They can prove us wrong still, right?
Yeah, so. I'm with you though, Dalton. But going into my loser of the draft, this is a team that I was really looking forward to see what they were going to do, and they really disappointed me. And they're my biggest loser of the draft, and that's the Detroit Lions. And I'm not saying that they had great amount of picks from round 1 all the way to round 3, and they got good players, they got playmakers, but they could have gotten better players than what they have gotten, in my opinion. So the day of the draft, the Lions got that morning were like, DeAndre Swift is up for a trade. Like, he's open for a trade. We will take trade talks for DeAndre Swift. So going into the draft, the Lions had the 6th overall pick. And all day they're sitting here thinking, like, who they know who they're going to take because they've been talking about it for weeks. They draft Jahmyr Gibbs at pick number 12. If you're sitting at 6 and you're going to take a running back, why the hell are you not taking Bijan Robinson? If you're going to trade DeAndre Swift and you're going to fall back to 12, why would you fall back to 12 to get Gibbs if you could have stayed at 6 and got Bijan?
That's a good point.
That
I didn't
doesn't
think
make
about that.
sense to me.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean, like something else that I saw with that is that there was a greater than 99% chance, because I think at the time when they selected Gibbs, they had the 12th and the 18th overall pick in the draft. There was a greater than a 99% chance that Jahmyr Gibbs was going to be there at 18. So why take him at 12? I don't think anyone was going to jump up and take him at 12. I think the next quarterback that we saw off the board was Zach Charbonnet, and he was 37, 38. So he was late 30s. Yeah. So no one was going to trade up to take Jahmyr Gibbs, but yet you took him at 12. But then also, like you're saying, Nathan, like if you're going to take a running back, stay at 6 and get Bijan. Like literally, yes. I mean, maybe that's the gamble that they took. Like I think that's maybe the approach is like, okay, let's move back. And if Bijan is gone, so be it. But even if that's the case and Bijan is gone, then why are you still selecting Jahmyr Gibbs at 12? Why?
Yeah. Look, so here's my thing, and I could be wrong, but here's what I'm seeing. They probably did not intend to take Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. They probably intended to take him much later, but when they slid back, and because no one expected, right? I made that my fun pick, right? Like I was saying, what if Bijan Robinson goes to the Falcons, right? None of us really expected that to happen. He was supposed to go later in the first.
That's true when you said that. But getting closer to the draft, though, that was heavy talk of Bijan going to the Falcons. Like it was.
Right. It was all speculation. It was all speculation. We all knew like that would be a great pick for the Falcons, but that was also a bad pick for the Falcons because that was not a need. It was a bad pick, but we all know that's a great pick, for the team
as a whole. That's the most Alabama fan shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
No, look. Hey, look, I admitted that was going to be a fun pick. That was my fun pick on our last episode, right? And guess what I admitted I would do too. If he went
to the Falcons. You're going to have to buy that jersey.
And guess what? I got the receipt. I got the receipt.
There you go, baby.
I already got it. It's on its way. So
I'm with you. I'm with you though.
But what I'm saying is it was a great pick for the Falcons, but we didn't see it coming because it wasn't a need of theirs. We all wanted to see it.
It was though.
It was. Tyler Algier was kind of their RB1. So in a way, yeah, they did need it, but I feel like there were bigger needs to fill there. But
going back to the Lions though, but they had DeAndre Swift and they just got David Montgomery. Why do you need a running back? Why do you need a running back?
That's what I'm saying though, because they've already decided that they're going to trade away Swift, and like you're not coming into this draft, starting the draft at 7:00, not knowing what you're taking first. It's just not a thing. It's just not a thing. You know what you're going to go. You know what your first pick's going to be. If you were that more dead set on drafting a running back in the first round, why the hell do you trade back and get Gibbs at 18 when you could have got Bijan at 6? That's just
about 12. They got about 12, right?
12. So, sorry, 12.
But there were sources with the Lions that were saying that Jahmyr Gibbs, when they were meeting with him, they knew that was their guy. Like they were not talking about Bijan there at the facility. Like they knew Jahmyr was their guy.
That was a mistake. That's a mistake. Then
that's the most Texas Longhorns thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, it's not even a Texas Longhorns thing because if you just talk to Bijan or even watch his interviews, he's not about like I'm this, I'm that.
Right. I'm just messing
around. Great guy.
But what I'm saying is, I think what happened is knowing when that's your guy and evidently, even though they know it's their guy, they know that he's the number 2 running back on the board. Yeah. When you take Bijan at 8, they're like, crap. So Bijan wasn't supposed to go till later in the first, right? He was supposed to be the only running back in the first. Yeah. If that, when they took it, I think they went, oh crap. And they were like, I think we can't wait. We can't wait. So they took. I think they rushed the process. I don't think they were going to even take a running back at 6, and I don't think they were going to take one at 12 until Bijan went at 8, and they're like, yep, got to take him at 12. So I think that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, enough about that. Then you go into pick 18, and they get DJ Sleeper, who's projected to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick at Jack Campbell.
Yeah,
you passed on Nolan Smith. You passed on the edge rusher, Odigizua, or I don't even know how to say his last name, out of Kansas State that the Chiefs got. and then you pass on, some other safeties and cornerbacks, and you could have gotten a better pick at 18. Then you fall down, you go look at their second round pick. Their second round pick, they draft Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa, when Michael Mayer was still on the board.
I remember texting about that. That was crazy.
Michael Mayer was still on the board.
Sam Laporta is a solid tight end, but man, there was a lot of good.
Michael Mayer.
I was gonna say there was a lot of good options on the board. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like cornerback.
I don't get it.
Why would
the
Commanders take Forbes when there were 6 other higher ranked cornerbacks on the board? And so
at least Forbes was a projected first rounder, though.
Yeah, but I mean, based on combine measurables and whatnot.
The only picks that I like that the Lions got came late in the second round when they drafted Brian Branch, and then the third round when they drafted Hendon Hooker.
Yep.
Those are the only 2 picks that I thought that the Lions did good on. Their first 3 picks, I feel like they botched them. I think they could have gotten better. I think they could have gotten better players. I might be a little biased here, but you can't sit here and tell me that Bijan Robinson's not going to be a Hall of Fame running back.
Well, but I mean, yes, but my thing is though with the Lions, and as I agree with you, I think the Lions were a big loser in this draft because at the time that they took the players that they took them, because again, the report that I saw,
yes,
for Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, there was a greater than 99% chance that he would have been there at 18. But then when they got Jack Campbell at 18, there was a greater than 96% chance that he was going to be there by the time they drafted in the second round. So it's good gracious, dude. So there was still a very high chance that you could have walked away with Jahmyr Gibbs at 18, Jack Campbell as your second overall pick, plus somebody else. Because for me,
at number 6, at
number 6 and at number 12 when they traded back and got more assets for it. So at number 12 where they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, for me, I was worst case scenario as a Packers fan, what they do is they go out and draft another edge player to be opposite of what's his name? Forgetting it. Aiden Hutchinson. To be opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, and they'd just be a wrecking crew. So you could have walked the very next pick was Lucas Van Ness to Green Bay. Lucas Van Ness, Aiden Hutchinson. And then you get Jahmyr Gibbs. And then the next round you get Jack Campbell. You would have easily been a winner of this draft, but they just kind of said, we'll just go ahead and get our guy right now. And then the next pick at 18, we'll go ahead and get our guy right now, which bold strategy, but I don't like it at all.
I think the Lions could have been a team that had the potential to win the draft.
I think we saw a case of peer pressure. I think they were pressured all over the board. I think they felt like they had guys that they could have waited on, but they were afraid to, and they took them way too early. I think that they were
easily the team that had 2 first-round draft picks and screwed it up. Seattle nailed it. Far. Eagles nailed it. Lions, no, screwed it up.
Texans
nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly.
My whole thing on that, and this will be it, but my whole thing on that was just, God almighty, dude, if you're going to go running back with the first round pick, take the best damn running back in the draft.
Exactly. No, I agree. I mean, I'm not saying that Jahmyr Gibbs isn't going to be bad.
No, he'll be a great football player.
Yeah.
But he's not as good as Bijan Robinson.
I mean, yes, they're different. For me, they're different players. I think they're going to bring different aspects to the game, but again,
it's just that all around.
Because if the Lions were at 18 and then they also had another first round pick and they could have gotten Jahmyr Gibbs at 18, then if they'd have just went somebody else with their first pick in the draft, and then they went Jahmyr Gibbs, they would be a team that's they had a pretty solid draft. But as a Packers fan, I'm loving it. I think the Packers won this draft, whatever. But anyways, that concludes our winners and losers of the NFL draft. So we're going to go ahead and get into Bench Banter. And again, I will explain what this is. And what Bench Banter is Nathan is going to quiz me and Dalton. Me and Dalton are working as a team to get the answers right. So this is a trivia style game. Nathan will ask the questions. Me and Dalton will work together to answer those.
All right, let's go ahead and get Bench Banter started. Question number 1. Which first overall pick has been selected to the most Pro Bowls?
Number 1 overall pick.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we still get hints.
Yes, I'll give you one hint.
Is he in the
As a
NFL?
team. Currently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's retired.
He's retired. Okay. Who was the team?
I can't give you that.
Oh, you just said it.
You asked me your hint. I gave it to you.
Oh, I'd have rather known his team.
Oh, I wouldn't have gave you that hint.
Shit. All right. Number 1 overall.
Oh boy. I feel like it's got to be a quarterback. I mean, I feel like that's the most common position out of all of them that's gone number 1 overall. Shoot. Okay, I'm gonna go with Manning. I'm gonna go Eli.
DJ?
I'm going to go with Peyton.
It is Peyton Manning.
Dude,
Let's go,
we're,
baby.
We're there though. We're there.
I love it. I love it.
The two brothers selected the two brothers.
Yes, sir.
It is Peyton Manning with 14.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I was blanked out on that. All right, cool.
Yeah, it was. Question number 2. Which college has produced the most Super Bowl starting quarterbacks?
Super Bowl, not Green Bay. It'd have to be Cowboys.
Which college?
Oh, I thought you said NFL team. Okay.
No.
Yeah,
Which college?
I was like, where's DJ going with this? Let's go.
I was so confused.
He's calculating. I was like,
I was in the zone.
Yeah.
Just in the wrong one.
college.
Which college produced?
Yes.
Dude, I feel like it could be.
Would it be Michigan? Tom Brady went to Michigan. What did you say? Super Bowl winning or super big
starting?
I feel like for me, I feel like it's got to be Michigan.
Dalton.
So the question, say it one more time.
Which college has produced the most Super Bowl starting quarterbacks?
So there's more than one. It's not just one quarterback going to the
Right. But
I don't think this question is geared to how many Super Bowls he started. I think it's the fact that he has started a Super Bowl.
okay, so you're making me say not Michigan, I guess.
Pretty much, yes. The Tom Brady and Michigan.
All right, give us a hint. Give us a hint.
Okay.
So we only got one left.
You only get one hint per question.
Well, DJ's already used
the school is in the Pac-12.
Oh.
Boys, we got to get something.
I feel like it's got to be USC.
Dalton.
Actually, I think that's a pretty confident guess.
I feel like it has to be.
You good with it? You good with it?
Well, I might as well say a different one just to.
Well, yeah.
Or,
hurry up, throw one out.
I'm saying USC for me. I feel like that's been one of the most notable Pac-12 schools.
Well, yeah, because I mean USC isn't that where?
But I feel like we only have one more guess. Don't just go USC because I went Michigan.
Okay.
I mean, if you feel confident about it.
Just throw a school out there. We just spent too much time on this question.
Okay. Yeah, it has to be USC.
The correct answer is Cal.
Ouch.
Well, we're in the right state.
I mean, all Pac-12 schools I feel like are in Cali.
Yeah, except for Oregon and Oregon State, Arizona,
Washington
Arizona State, and Washington.
That's a
State,
lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of schools, actually.
Yeah, that's a lot of schools.
But all the
Question
other ones.
number 3. What college has had the most players drafted in the first round?
Ooh. It's got to be an SEC team.
I feel like it's Georgia or Alabama. I feel like it's got to be Alabama. Georgia has only been of recent success, like maybe the last 5 years.
That's true.
Alabama has had majority success for a long time.
But would Nathan make it that easy for me, right? Would he choose a question that has an answer for Alabama?
Yes,
Hey,
I think you would.
I'm just trying to test y'all's knowledge.
It's psychological.
But it could be reverse psychology, and he's gonna he probably make sure that you think that, and then you don't go that way.
Y'all better hurry up and throw an answer out there.
All right,
I say Bama.
Is the hint an SEC team?
No.
Oh, gosh darn it.
DJ, we should use the hint first.
Starting here on, you can't ask for the hint if one person's already answered the question.
Well, DJ answers too fast.
Well, you just take too long.
That's a good thing because now I still have a chance. It's not an SEC team.
It is not an SEC team.
And then what is it again? Most players in the NFL.
What college has had the most players drafted in the first round?
Dude, all right. Another good team for another long time. I'm going to say Ohio State.
Yeah, I was about to say it'd be a Big Ten school probably and be Ohio State.
Ohio State is the correct answer.
Yep.
Second
AJ
was
Hawk.
Notre Dame.
Oh!
Second
was
number
Notre
2.
Dame.
Wow.
They're not even in a conference.
Independent.
All right. Question number 4. Who is the most recent first overall pick to win Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year, most recent. This could be any position. Most recent, like the just passed?
Yeah, they're like recent.
Say the question again. We got to think about it.
Who is the most recent first overall pick to win Rookie of the Year?
Did Kyler Murray win it?
Is that your answer, DJ?
No, I'm asking you. Did Kyler Murray win it? Do you know?
Are you asking me or are you asking Dalton?
He's asking me.
Oh. All right, Nathan, give us a hint before we start guessing.
He was a quarterback.
Okay.
So usually most rookies of the year, MVPs. Yeah, so I kind of figured.
Who was another number 1 overall? Because if we think it was a quarterback, most recent, couldn't have been Patty.
Could it have been Baker?
Oh, maybe.
He didn't play his first year.
Well, Nathan, that's not it, DJ.
Yeah, all right, y'all got to hurry up.
Kyler Murray.
Oh, it's the LSU stud.
Oh, Joe Burrow.
The correct answer is Cam Newton.
Who won it over Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow got hurt, remember?
Oh.
But Cam Newton, that's not the most recent.
Yes, it is.
Number 1, most recent number 1 overall. It had to be a number 1
overall. Yeah. Question number 5. What is the oldest team in the NFL?
Chicago Bears.
No.
Dalton?
Well, let's see what else there is.
Before I lock it in, give me a hint.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to. Okay, I don't really know how to give a hint on this one, if I'm being honest.
Is their stadium renovated?
What the fuck? I don't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, we just talked about it just recently.
Are they in the NFC?
Yes.
Okay.
I felt like for me, I've no. I mean,
so their name is probably. I wonder if it's a team whose name's changed.
Not necessarily, because Green Bay was. They ran it from.
They've always been Green Bay.
That's what I'm saying. They've ran it from day one as Green Bay, so not necessarily.
Right. I'm just saying, like the Houston Oilers, right? So
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a different team. I would consider that.
Yeah, but that would still fall under the Tennessee Titans, though, because
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But Houston Oilers to Tennessee. Texas, Tennessee.
All right, for me, I'm between 3 teams: Chicago, Green Bay, and Kansas City.
You got to throw one out there.
All right,
As a Green Bay fan, I'm Green Bay.
All right,
Dalton.
as a Green Bay hater, Bears.
The correct answer is the Arizona Cardinals.
The Cardinals?
The Cardinals. Yes, sir.
That makes me want to vomit. Well, I don't even. Where did we even go? What did we have there?
I don't really. I think you got them all wrong except for question number 3, question number 1.
So 2 out of 5.
Pretty much.
40%. We're saying baseball rules. We're batting 400.
So, wait,
That's pretty solid.
Are we done, or we have any more questions?
That's it. 5.
Oh, crud! So we can't go 500. Oh.
Yep. He's got to be an odd number. Either Nathan wins or we win, and Nathan won today. So anyways, thank y'all guys so much for listening. As always, y'all can check out our website at boysonthebench.com, and through our website, y'all can access all of our stuff, our TikTok, YouTube channel, find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything like that. Thank y'all so much for the support. We love all the support that we have been getting up to this point. Thank y'all so much, and we will see y'all next episode.
Like always, it's a pleasure to ride the pine with you boys.